Have you ever pondered how you may be happier in your elderly years if you did less? What if adopting a more relaxed, stress-free lifestyle is the key to prospering in old age, rather than putting in more hours at work? This movie explores 5 unexpected ways that a little additional leisure time can lead to a more contented and joyful retirement. These are not only pointers. For seniors who desire to live comfortably, joyfully, and with peace of mind, these are life-altering insights. If you want to change the way you approach your golden years and learn the easy habits that make aging not just acceptable, but genuinely enjoyable, you must watch through to the finish because we are offering heartfelt and practical advice for the elderly. I would like it before we start. You can support me in spreading the old age lesson if you enjoy this video. To ensure you don't miss any videos, I advise you to subscribe and turn on the bell if you haven't already. Please leave the first remark if you enjoy this video. Please let me know in the first remark if you don't like it, so I may improve the video for you. Let's get going now. First of all, you are happier the less you care about what other people think. One of life's most important lessons is that worrying about what other people think of you is a heavy, self-imposed burden that rarely brings the benefits you desire. This fear can feel overwhelming when you're younger. To fit what you believe to be socially acceptable or respectable, you may carefully choose how you look, carefully consider what you say, or modify your life decisions, work choices, hobbies, and even your laughter. You may seek approval from friends, co-workers, or even complete strangers out of a deep-seated fear of rejection, misinterpretation, or judgment. You can lose sleep worrying about whether your most recent choice will be accepted by your peers, or you might spend hours reliving a party comment and wondering if it went badly. This never-ending pressure to live up to others' expectations can be draining, never-ending, and ultimately fruitless. However, life has a tendency of removing the layers of this illusion as you become older. Experience makes it clear that most people are too preoccupied with their own life, their goals, their fears, and their day-to-day hardships to devote much time to analyzing yours. Because they are probably busy with their own deadlines or personal struggles, that coworker you were worried about might think less of you for making a mistake. The acquaintance you believed was criticizing your attire or way of life. They most likely didn't think twice about it. This insight is a subtle shift in your perspective. You start to realize that the brain space you've given to worrying about other people's perspectives is not only superfluous, but it also steals your energy and tranquility. The instant you begin to release this urge to manage how other people see you, a deep sense of liberation arises when you stop striving for approval from others. This transition does not occur completely at once. It's a slow process that's frequently forged over years of little moments. The moment you decided to voice your mind in spite of the possibility of criticism, the day you left a hazardous workplace without turning around, or the day you wore something out of the ordinary because it made you feel alive. You learn from these experiences that when you cease meeting other people's expectations, the world doesn't end. You start to observe the elderly people in your life who exemplify this freedom, a mentor, a grandparent, or even a complete stranger at a coffee shop. They live their lives with unreserved sincerity, stating their minds without over-analyzing, dressed in comfortable clothing rather than trendy ones, and choosing their actions based on what makes them happy rather than what will elevate them in society or win them favor. This is the gift of growing indifferent to other people's ideas. There's a lightness to their presence, a quiet confidence that appears to say, "I am enough as I am." You recover the vitality to live for yourself by letting go of unneeded expectations. This strategy does not include acting carelessly or ignoring the sentiments of those you care about. Being careless and letting go of the drive to satisfy everyone are two very different things. The former entails ignoring how your actions affect others you care about. The latter is about realizing that trying to win over everyone is a Sisyphean endeavor. There will always be someone who disagrees, misinterprets, or passes judgment, regardless of how hard you try. And that's all right. Managing their perceptions is not your responsibility. Instead, you lay the groundwork for true happiness by concentrating on your own principles, aspirations, and welfare. Instead of asking yourself, "What will they think?" you begin to ask yourself, "What do I want? What feels right for me?" These questions become your compass. Imagine living your life without the constant worry that your decisions would be scrutinized when you wake up in the morning. Imagine yourself working on a project you are passionate about, declining commitments that don't benefit you, or just taking a break without fear of coming across as antisocial. This is the place where genuine contentment grows. The sooner you accept this indifference to other people's viewpoints, the sooner you'll be able to free up mental and emotional resources to devote to the things that really count. Your unique journey, your significant relationships, and your personal development. Gaining other people's approval does not lead to happiness. It comes from having the guts to live genuinely on your own terms and to let go of the need for it. The second is that you are happy the less you force connections. Relationships can feel like a gauge of your value when you're younger. You may be persuaded by society, culture, and even your own intuition to keep all of your connections. You have an obligation to maintain your friendships, family relationships, and love relationships at any costs. You may find yourself putting a lot of effort into resolving disputes that never seem to end, reaching out to someone who rarely answers on a regular basis, or clinging to relationships that deplete you rather than inspire you. The endeavor seems admirable, even essential, as though ending a relationship is a confession of failure or an indication that you are unworthy of maintaining it. Because you think relationships need ongoing effort to thrive, you may hold on to childhood friends who no longer share your beliefs, stay in touch with acquaintances out of duty, or attempt to save a love relationship that has been waning for years. However, as time goes on, life presents a new viewpoint. You start to realize that pushing relationships to last longer than they should is not just draining, but also ineffective. It's similar to attempting to maintain a plant in decomposing soil. It won't flourish with any amount of water or work. You put your own well-being at greater risk the more you pursue others who don't return the favor. You make room for something much more fulfilling the minute you stop overcommitting to maintaining connections and stop trying to please everyone. Real, mutually beneficial relationships that enhance rather than drain you. This mentality change is revolutionary. You start to put quality over quantity rather than distributing your energy over a large network of interactions. You observe those who show up on their own initiative, the friend who checks in without being asked, the family member who listens without passing judgment, and the partner who respects and cares for you. These are the relationships that don't require emotional acrobatics to sustain. They develop organically, based on sincere compassion and reciprocal effort. You may release yourself from the weight of one-sided attempts and let the proper people remain in your life naturally by letting go of the urge to make every relationship work. Consider the elderly people you've met who appear content with their social groupings. They are not continually seeking out new connections to fill a void or surrounded by a revolving door of acquaintances. Rather, they've developed a small, significant circle of people who genuinely matter, whether they're co-workers who appreciate them, friends who share their ideals, or family members who encourage them. These people know when a relationship isn't working for them anymore, and they don't mind letting it go. They don't waste time on relationships that feel like duties, toxic relationships, or superficial friendships. They may create a life with the right people, not just the most people, thanks to their discernment. This strategy does not include abandoning interest in existing connections or shutting yourself off from new ones. It's about having faith that the appropriate relationships will last without requiring you to put in a lot of effort to maintain them. It's about having enough self-worth to cease demonstrating it to people who don't see it. Relationships that flourish naturally, those based on respect for one another, teamwork, and sincere concern, take precedence when you stop imposing them. When you reach out to a buddy you haven't spoken to in years, you may discover that they continue where you left off, or that a new, satisfying relationship might be formed by letting go of a tiring friend. A lighter, more genuine life with individuals who add to, rather than take away from your enjoyment, is the end result. Isolation is not the reason for this indolence in imposing relationships. Intention is key. It's about accepting that not all relationships are meant to be permanent. A select few are in your life for the rest of your life, while others are there for a season or a cause. You make room for the people who are really important when you let go of the impulse to hold on to every relationship. When you adopt this strategy, you will experience the delight of relationships that are built on respect, caring, and a common desire to remain connected and don't require coercion. In partnerships, that's where real happiness starts. Please let me know in the first remark below whether you're still watching this video and finding these ideas helpful. To ensure you don't miss any videos, I advise you to subscribe and turn on the bell if you haven't already. We can keep producing high-quality content to educate and uplift you thanks to your support. Alright, let's proceed. Third, you are happier the less you try to influence other people. You may have carried the silent weight of feeling obligated to lead those around you along what you believe to be the correct course for a large portion of your life. This sense of obligation frequently springs from a deep source of love, concern, or even the conviction that your wisdom could save others from needless suffering. Maybe you've spent years gently urging your kids to make better decisions, such as putting their health first, avoiding hazardous relationships, or pursuing steady employment. Perhaps you were constantly giving pals advice, gently emphasizing that their snap judgments could cause them to regret them, or providing answers to issues they didn't seem to perceive. You may have spent many hours discussing with your spouse or partner how minor behavioral adjustments, such as better communication, healthier diet, or better financial planning, could improve your shared life. In your social circle, you might have viewed yourself as a moral compass, a ray of reason, or a person who fixes problems. Believed that you might reveal their blind spots and encourage change if you had enough perseverance, compassion, or persuasive arguments. A noble desire to safeguard, improve, or maximize the lives of people you care about is frequently the source of this motivation. When you were younger, you may have thought that your job was to guide people away from errors, like a lighthouse directing ships away from treacherous coasts. In an effort to help someone avoid a pitfalls you had either encountered or could have predicted, you may have mentally reenacted discussions, carefully creating the ideal way to express advice, or stepped in to address circumstances that weren't immediately within your purview. For instance, you may have had restless nights worrying about a friend's bad relationship patterns, a sibling's chaotic lifestyle, or a coworker's disregard for expert advice. Every time, you had the impression that they would finally understand if you could just find the perfect words or proof. A profound reality, however, becomes apparent as the years pass and carry with them a tapestry of successes, setbacks, and lessons learned. Unless they have an innate desire to change, people rarely, if ever, do so. This is a basic fact with psychological roots that may be seen in a wide range of real-world situations, not a cynical rejection of human potential. According to behavioral research, internal motivators are necessary for long-lasting transformation. None of these qualities, self-awareness, desire, and readiness, can be forced from without, no matter how well-meaning. Defensiveness, resistance, or outright hostility are frequently sparked by external pressure, whether it comes in the form of sincere entreaties, harsh lectures, or sophisticated manipulations. It's like trying to pry open the petals of a flower to make it bloom. Damage rather than growth is the outcome. You run against more resistance the more you force yourself through repeated discussions, demands, or emotional pleas. This leads to a vicious circle of frustration that depletes your emotional reserves without producing any results. Think back to times when you tried to help someone change and it didn't work out. A friend who disregarded your advice and kept making the same mistakes. A family member who disregarded your advice about budgeting only to suffer the financial consequences you foresaw, or an adolescent who increased their reckless behavior after you warned them. You probably felt worn out after each incident, wondering why your concern wasn't enough to bring about change, and maybe even feeling angry at the other person for their obstinacy. Shouting into this imaginary wind, reiterating fights, rehashing counsel, or agonizing over their decisions all result in little more than personal exhaustion. Pushing a boulder uphill just to have it tumble back down unaltered is a Sisyphean task. At some turning point, maybe following a tiring dispute, a silent realization when out for a walk alone, or just the weight of life's lessons, you come to the realization that attempting to alter other people is not only futile, but also a thief of your own tranquility. You learn to pivot rather than hold on to the delusion that you can alter or control someone's course. Don't give counsel unless asked. Offer assistance without expecting anything in return, and express your viewpoint as an invitation rather than a requirement. No amount of proof, eloquence, or emotional engagement can make someone ready to evolve. This change isn't about leaving people you love behind, it's about honoring their independence and realizing that they are the only ones who can manage their own path. A great lightness enters your life once you embrace this lethargy in trying to alter other people. Your attention becomes more focused on the things that you can control, such as your own decisions, responses, and inner peace. Imagine the relief of not worrying about a friend's constant bad choices, a partner's ingrained behaviors, or a loved one's refusal to put their health first. The people who used to irritate you the most become less important when you let go of your self-imposed duty to save them. They are replaced by a deep sense of liberation, where your emotional vitality isn't diverted by conflicts that aren't yours to fight. This idea is easily embodied by the happiest people in their later years, those who have endured decades of relationships and witnessed the complexity of human nature. They recognize that each person is traveling a unique route that cannot be hurried or prescribed, complete with detours, dead ends, and epiphanies. Like a software update, wisdom cannot be imposed on someone. It needs to be acquired via introspection, setbacks, and personal struggles. Setting a good example is the most effective way to influence others. Living a life of honesty, fortitude, and kindness while letting others be inspired when and if they're ready. This enlightened detachment is a conscious decision to save your energy for personal development and deep relationships, not apathy. You regain your pleasure the instant you give up the tiresome quest to change other people, free from the burden of their decisions and content with the unreliable rhythms of the world. Please let me know in the second remark below if you're still watching this video and finding these ideas helpful. To ensure you don't miss any videos, I advise you to subscribe and turn on the bell if you haven't already. We can keep producing high-quality content to educate and uplift you thanks to your support. Alright, let's proceed. Fourth, you are happy the less you spend time chasing after people who don't value you. The idealized idea of unbreakable, eternal bonding eventually starts to fall apart, exposing the fleeting and frequently conditional nature of human relationships. As life's currents draw you in different directions, friendships that once felt like lifelines may become less meaningful. Voids that cannot be filled by new cities, occupations, or priorities. Once full of promise, romantic partnerships might eventually fade into stressful routines or faraway memories. Even familial bonds, which are thought to be unbreakable because of blood ties, might weaken as a result of conflict, neglect, or conflicting values. You might have been the rock-solid anchor in your younger years, putting your all into maintaining these relationships. The person who always made the first move, organized events, patched up conflicts, or showed forgiveness after betrayals. As if love and perseverance alone could overcome the inevitable ups and downs of relationships, this unrelenting effort frequently felt like a badge of loyalty, a tribute to your dedication to keeping people close. However, a sobering realization dawns with the clarity that only time and experience can offer. Relationships that need to be chased constantly, where you're always the one who initiates, plans, or provides emotional support, are rarely based on genuine connection or mutual value. This isn't about sporadic communication breakdowns or transient imbalances, which are normal in all relationships. It involves a recurring pattern in which your efforts are not reciprocated, leaving you to shoulder the logistical and emotional burden by yourself. In terms of psychology, this dynamic represents unequal degrees of participation, with one partner investing time, energy, affection, and resources, while the other just provides intermittent involvement that is frequently motivated by habit, convenience, or self-interest. You may have justified this mismatch in your younger years by telling yourself that they're simply busy. They are what they are. Or they'll change their minds if I put in more effort. As if relationships could be maintained by pure willpower, you could have thought that more calls, more invitations, or more acts of kindness would awaken their gratitude. But experience reveals a harsher reality. Mutual effort, not one-sided pursuit, is the foundation of true bonds. It's like trying to use a fraying rope to anchor a boat in a storm, when you force yourself to be close to people who don't value you. It's ultimately futile and draining. Think back to the relationships that caused you the most stress. The friend from childhood who didn't reply until you told them to. The family member who only contacted you during emergencies or holidays, expecting your assistance without providing their own, or the love partner who became complacent when the wooing phase was over. You start to doubt your value and wonder why your efforts aren't enough to inspire reciprocity, as each unanswered text, cancelled plan, or unreturned gesture eats away at your soul. This pursuit carries a severe cost. The pain of discovering a friend did not invite you to a significant occasion, the silent worry of waiting for a response that never materializes, or the gradual decline in self-esteem brought on by feeling like an afterthought in someone else's life. The pressures of life, new families, jobs, or personal development can cause some people to naturally drift away. Others, however, simply stay when it benefits them, coming back for counsel, favors, or emotional support without making an investment in the relationship's fundamentals. Some people only get in touch with you when they need something, fiercely pursuing their own goals. A sympathetic ear, a loan, a favor, or someone who assumes your generosity is limitless. Patterns may become apparent to you over time. The friend who only calls when their life falls apart. The coworker who approaches you for mentoring but never gives you credit for your efforts. Or the family member who anticipates your attendance at gatherings but never inquires about your welfare. You can unleash the transforming gift of serenity by taking a more relaxed approach, stopping the pursuit, and letting connections show their genuine character. You are no longer caught up in the exhausting web of one-sided dynamics, putting effort into those who don't value you in return. You quit evaluating their lack of response, doubting your own value, or investing in relationships that only end in disappointment. Rather, you focus your energy on relationships with people who actively choose you, partnerships that grow organically. These are the people that invest in the relationship as equals, call without being asked, and celebrate your accomplishments without feeling envious. They arrive out of true want rather than duty, laying the groundwork for a foundation of joy, respect, and trust that one-sided relationships will never match. There is a lovely change in this update. Relationships worth maintaining are those that are strengthened by shared commitment rather than your own efforts. People who leave you, whether due to neglect, apathy, or personal priorities, are never truly yours to keep, and their departure makes room for more meaningful relationships. This is a call to discernment, realizing that your time and energy are limited and should be used where they are most appreciated, rather than to cynicism or seclusion. This art of selective laziness has been perfected by the happiest people in their older years, enveloping themselves in a carefully chosen circle of mutual respect, love, and presence. In addition to maintaining your pleasure, letting go of the chase allows you to enjoy the warmth of connections that value you without requiring you to be sought after. Please let me know in the third remark below if you're still viewing this video and finding these ideas helpful. To ensure you don't miss any videos, I advise you to subscribe and turn on the bell if you haven't already. We can keep producing high-quality content to educate and uplift you thanks to your support. Alright, let's proceed. The fifth rule is that you are happier the less you try to control things. One of the most freeing things we may learn as we move through life is that we can't control, or repair everything. With age, experience, and a developing sense of wisdom, this realization frequently occurs. Younger people have a propensity to think they can and should be in charge of every aspect of their lives. The need for control can be overwhelming, whether you're carefully arranging your professional path, influencing how other people see you, or even attempting to manage your relationships. The idea that you can shape life to your exact specifications if you put in enough effort may be something you pursue for years. However, as time goes on, it becomes evident that this strategy is ineffective. You put yourself at greater risk of dissatisfaction, worry, and disappointment the more you attempt to manage every little aspect. On the other hand, you feel happier and more liberated the less you try to control things. Giving up or being indifferent is not the goal of this change of viewpoint. It's about accepting a deep reality. Most of the time, control is a myth. Regardless of how much work you put into planning outcomes, life has a tendency of not going as planned. Unexpected events, like a sudden downpour, a cancelled trip, or an unexpected guest ruin the event you've spent weeks organizing. Your loved one, whom you have worked so hard to persuade to adopt your viewpoint, reminds you that their opinions and decisions are their own. Your constant worries about your future, whether it be your relationships, health, or financial stability, become frightening as they materialize in unexpected ways. These instances all serve as reminders that a lot of life is out of your control. It's not a fault either. It's a characteristic of life. Think about the effort we put into attempting to control every little detail. How many nights have you been up replaying discussions, racking your brain over what you may have said? How many hours have you wasted fretting about things that might never happen? As we attempt to fit life into a tidy, predictable box, the quest for control frequently results in a vicious cycle of tension and fatigue. However, life is messy, complex, and unpredictable by nature. Our emotional burden lessens the sooner we come to terms with this. Giving up control does not imply a lack of ambition or accountability. It entails understanding the distinction between the things you can and cannot affect. It's about concentrating on the former and gracefully letting go of the latter. As we become older, this lesson becomes even more relevant. Young people have a sense of invincibility and think they can change the world to suit their needs if they put in enough work. But as the years go on, we learn humility from life. You may experience obstacles, a loss of employment, a medical emergency, or a broken relationship that makes you face your boundaries. Even though they hurt, these times are incredibly freeing. They educate you to let go of the myth of perfection, previous regrets, and unreasonable expectations. After all, perfection is not a reality, it is a human creation. No matter how well curated a person's life seems on social media or in quick comparisons, nobody's life is perfect. The more we strive for perfection, the more we expose ourselves to disappointment. On the other hand, we can enjoy life's unpredictable nature when we accept its flaws. Look at the happiest elderly people you know, the ones who seem to exude calm and contentment. Most of the time, they have something in common. They've become experts at letting go. They don't worry about the little things, like a minor argument, a delayed trip, or a spilt coffee. Instead of resisting life's inevitable ups and downs, they've learnt to embrace it as it is. This does not imply that they are unmotivated or passive. Instead, they have developed the capacity to distinguish between things that are worthwhile and those that are not. They are aware that having complete control over all the variables does not lead to ultimate happiness. It results from accepting the here and now and finding contentment in life's natural progression. There are numerous advantages to this change in perspective. You create mental and emotional space to enjoy what's in front of you when you give up attempting to control everything. You start to appreciate the little pleasures that you may have missed in your attempt to plan the ideal life, such a pleasant discussion, a stunning sunset, or the straightforward enjoyment of a calm morning. Because you've come to terms with the fact that not every result is a reflection of your value or work, you become more resilient and less shaken by disappointments. You begin to view obstacles as chances to change rather than as dangers to your well-thought-out goals. Above all, you learn to breathe more deeply without the burden of attempting to bear the weight of the world. Healthy relationships are also fostered by this method. Whether it's a friend, family member, or a spouse, you can let them be who they are when you let go of the impulse to control them. You meet people where they are and cease attempting to influence their beliefs or actions to fit your vision. This makes room for sincere communication, respect, and comprehension. By letting go, you allow others the same opportunity to develop and change as you allow yourself to. In the end, being lazy about letting go has nothing to do with carelessness or disregard. It has to do with wisdom. It's about having faith that life will work itself out, even if it doesn't go according to your initial plan. It's about choosing to concentrate on what really matters, your ideals, your relationships, and your sense of purpose, and finding serenity in the unpredictable nature of life. You can appreciate the beauty of just living when you give up trying to control everything. You learn that trying to make the world fit your wishes won't make you happy. It can be discovered in accepting its complexities, flowing with it, and having faith that everything is playing out precisely as it should. And you discover freedom and a more profound, long-lasting delight in that surrender. Whoa, we just discovered 5 unexpected ways that being lazy can result in a more contented and joyful old age. I hope these observations have encouraged you to live your golden years in a carefree, happy manner. Tell me then, what is one thing you learnt from this video that you can't wait to apply in your daily life? Leave a comment below with it. I would love to know what you think. Please leave a comment below if you enjoy this video. For more sincere tips on how to make your senior years genuinely golden, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.